For this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with limited trainings.
Hello and welcome to the Snow Brains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most intelligent people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge on to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, professional mountain guide, an Alaska heli ski guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of Snow Brains, and I spent 4 ski seasons in Japan from 2012 to 2015. It was a magical time to be in Japan, and it snowed more than I've ever seen anywhere else on Earth. I also broke my kneecap and blew my ACL while I was there. But it was worth it. This episode of the Snow Brains podcast is brought to you by Vail Mountain. Vail is celebrating its 60th anniversary this season. That's 60 years of powder days, back bowl skiing, ice bars, and new experiences. No matter how many times you've skied these slopes, this season is all about celebrating then, now, and forever. And as a part of the celebrations, Vail will be hosting the National Brotherhood of Skiers for their annual summit in February. So go ahead, plan your next visit to Vail and help them celebrate what's shaping up to be a legendary season. My guest today is Henri Rivers. Henri is the president of the National Brotherhood of Skiers, as well as a native New Yorker, an avid skier and outdoor enthusiast for over 45 years. He's a professional ski instructor, certified master teacher, and children's specialist, as well as the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Alpine coach, jury advisor, referee, and official. He coaches in the Alpine race program at Windham Mountain in the Catskill region of New York. Henri became involved with the National Brotherhood of Skiers in 1996 and has held many positions within the organization. He started as club president and moved on to become the Midwest Regional Competitive Director. In 2003, he became the coach of the national team of the NBS, and in 2008 was appointed the Olympic Scholarship Fund Administrator. During his tenure as OSF Administrator, he grew the national team to 15 athletes. In 2016, he was appointed the National Competitive Director, and in 2018 was voted in as Executive Vice President of the National Brotherhood of Skiers. He served 2 years and was elected as National President of the NBS in March of 2020. Hello, Henri. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. How are you, Miles?
I'm happy, man. I'm really happy to have you on the show. I really appreciate you coming here.
We appreciate the invite.
Oh, good, man. And I kind of always ask people, when did you ski last?
June 6th.
Oh, wow. That's late.
That was my last day on snow this year. Yeah.
Where was that?
That was at Copper. I was skiing A-Basin and Copper.
Nice, man. That A-Basin's so fun. I like both those spots.
Oh, yeah.
How many days did you ski this year?
I'm not sure. Probably 70.
That's a lot. Okay.
Like
Wow. Yeah. Good. All right. I like that. A big high number. So many people I ask on the show don't know. And I'm such a nerd. I keep track of where I go and when. And I'm almost have a spreadsheet on it. So Henri, you are the current president and the 16th president overall of the National Brotherhood of Skiing or Skiers, the NBS. And so I'm really excited to learn more about you and what you good folks do. So let's jump right into it. So let's start off with the National Brotherhood of Skiers. What is the National Brotherhood of Skiers?
The National Brotherhood of Skiers, let's call it NBS. And the reason why I'm saying NBS, because that's our brand that we've had for over 50 years. People know us around the world, not the country. They know us around the world internationally as NBS. And it stands for National Brotherhood of Skiers. I'm harping on NBS because we're contemplating what everyone else has contemplated in the snow sports industry, and that's evolving our name to represent everyone. So we're still NBS, but we're trying to think if we could change it to possibly National Brotherhood of Snow Sports and keep it NBS. And this way, all of our members, and that's what the key is to the NBS, is our members, our membership. They'll feel included. None of the snowboarders, tele skiers, backcountry skiers, nobody will be left out. The uphill skiers, the snowshoers. I want everyone to feel welcome within our organization. So that's why we are the NBS, National Brotherhood of Skiers today.
I like it. Cool. And so what is the MBS? What do you folks do?
Well, our mission is to identify, develop, and support athletes of color that are going to win competitions for the United States ski team, representing the United States in international Olympic competitions. Our second part of our mission is to increase participation in winter sports. So that means we're doing our part to open up the industry to unrepresented, not underrepresented, unrepresented communities. I say unrepresented because underrepresented gives me the idea that we have people out there. If you have 1,000 skiers, 0.1% of that represents your community, that's one person. Right. All right. So let's just say it's unrepresented. Okay. Yes. Underrepresented means that we're, and I'm putting this to the ski industry so they really understand. Unrepresented means you're not doing your part to bring us in, to make it welcoming, not just to the National Brotherhood of Skiers, to Black skiers, but to skiers of color, skiers of different orientations. I don't care who you are. We want everything open everywhere in the outdoors for everyone. That's our mission. We're striving and we're doing our part to help the industry recognize this and to help the industry implement changes that are going to increase participation on all levels, not just skiing, but also employed within the industry. Because if you employ people of color in the industry, you will no doubt bring in more skiers or riders or whatever, snow sports enthusiasts. They will follow. If they see that the environment is inviting, they're going to come, plain and simple.
Yes.
But if you got boards up, if you got barriers up all the time, why would I want to get involved?
And it's really been proven that people respond to seeing people like them. I always think of Whoopi Goldberg had a quote. She talked about, she first saw the woman who played on Star Trek. I forget her name right now. Right. And she just yelled to her family, like, there's a Black lady on TV and she ain't no maid. And I feel like that was such a huge moment for her. And she really goes into that. And I think that was a huge moment for everybody. And that woman also, I saw another show about how she actually, the woman who played on Star Trek, met with Dr. Martin Luther King, and she was going to quit. You probably heard the story. And he said, no, you cannot quit. What you are doing creates that representation in this area that other people will see and aspire to. And that's what we need in the snow sports industry as well. And what you're referring to and what the MBS is striving to do. And we appreciate that you're doing that. And so my next question is, and we'll get more into the industry in a little bit. Why was the NBS created?
We had two great guys that got together, Art Clay and Ben Finley, our founders, back in 1972. And they saw, first of all, they had a desire and a passion to ski. So they saw that they wanted to do this. They saw a need to band together because it wasn't as inviting as people would think. Back in the 70s, even the 60s, I started skiing in the 60s. So back in the 60s and the 70s, you had to have a passion for that sport to go out there and put yourself in the way of people that were not inviting.
Right.
But they wanted to experience and become better riders and skiers. But they felt the only way that they could do that was if they did it in a group. They felt much safer if they traveled in a group. They wouldn't be intimidated or singled out by the majority of the folks on the mountain. What they decided to do, they invited all of the Black ski clubs they could find. It was 13 original clubs. And they said, let's get together, let's gather. It was called The Gathering. Let's gather in Aspen and ski and have fun and have a party. So that happened in 1973. And it's been going so strong. I don't think anyone could have ever envisioned that from 1973, we would still be around. And we would still be a strong group representing the Brotherhood. Those guys had a vision that, as I said, it's still evolving. It's still growing. The camaraderie that has developed. That's why I said at the beginning, it's our membership. Our membership is critical. Our membership is key to the success and the existence of the National Brotherhood of Skiers. You've got people that have never missed a summit.
Oh, wow.
50 years. And
That's
they've
terrific.
never missed the summit. Art and Ben, they're in their 80s. They have not missed a summit.
Wow.
And
That's
there's
so
many
impressive.
more like that. So that the reason they got together was for protection and bonding and to enjoy a sport that, looking from the outside in, looking from a set of white eyes looking at us, you would think that we wouldn't want to do that. What I've been telling folks of late I'm going to say Norway, but let's say in the Scandinavian countries, they said they developed skiing or skiing was birthed there.
Right.
But then a few months ago, maybe a year now, China says, oh, no. We've got artifacts that say skiing was started in China.
Right,
So
I've
I
seen
guess
that.
I think they have something that dates back more than 1,300 years. So if you think about that, you got to think about the cradle of civilization. Where did life start? Where on this planet, they say everything originated in Africa. We've got the Atlas Mountains in Africa. They have snow. Skiing was made for transportation. That was the original idea, to have skiing, to get on those sticks and slide across to get from one point to the other.
Definitely.
So I say skiing was started in Africa.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay? That's my story, and that's what I'm sticking with.
I like it. I like that best. Nice. Well, it all came from Africa, right? So
So hey,
there's little argument.
that was the beginning of civilization. That was the beginning of skiing. So everybody can make their claims if they want, but I'm sticking to mine.
You heard it here first. I love it. And I think that Art and Ben were, what you're referring to, Art and Ben were ahead of their time. And to see where it is now, they're still so ahead of their time. And they're both been recently inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. I think that was in 2019. And I'd like to talk about that more too. And I thought it was an interesting story too, especially for white people like me to understand. The National Guard was called in when you had the first 1973 summit in Aspen, because my understanding is Ben and Art called Aspen. I'm not sure, the Chamber of Commerce or someone, and said, hey, we're coming here and we're a bunch of Black people. And that's how it ended up. And so it just really shows how different the environment is, and how much tension there was. And I'm so sorry to think how challenging it was, but it was. And that's
right.
why these folks wanted to travel in groups. And that's part of why the NBS was created. So I appreciate you giving us that background. And I do want to jump just really quick into, they were inducted into Hall of Fame, U.S. Ski and Snowboard. That's a huge deal. Could you tell us a bit about that induction and why it was so important?
Yeah, definitely. But first, you talk about the National Guard and how everything was so different back then. We've got to open our eyes, and I'm not using this as a political platform or any means, but it was very different back then, but it's really the same right now. We've got to open our eyes as not whites or Blacks, Hispanics, like anything. I don't care. We've got to open our eyes to what's going on, because the same thing is coming right back at us, and it's in our face again. So America, let's wake up, man. We've got to, and take ownership of our country. This is ours. All of ours, so let's wake up to that. But getting back to their induction, they have, I knew the number, but it's around 468 or 428 amazing individuals that have been inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Art and Ben are the first African Americans or Black individuals that have been inducted into this illustrious group.
Wow.
It is amazing. It's been going on since, I don't know, I think the 50s or something. I wish I had it in front of me. But it's been going on a very long time. And for them to break the ceiling, break the glass, and finally be acknowledged for their contributions to the industry, it's amazing. It brings tears to your eyes, because these guys, they were in their 30s. They were young guys. They started an organization. They started a movement because they wanted to have fun. I can remember when I was in my 30s, it was all about the party. It was all about having fun. It was grooving. It was having a great time. But they don't realize how they set such a great movement into motion. And I am extremely happy and honored to know them, but I'm extremely happy that the U.S. Ski and Snowboard has recognized this. And I think what it's going to do is going to it has opened the door. It has opened the door for more amazing Black individuals in snow sports to actually be noticed, not recognized, because they've been recognized. We got guys like Phil Henderson. I know you know who Phil Henderson is. Explorer, mountaineer, Mount Everest. He, that guy is an amazing individual. And now that Art and Ben have opened that door, so what they've done is remarkable. And we just have to keep our industry, keep our people aware. And I'm saying ours, that's everyone, white, black, every color you can imagine. Everyone has to be aware of the accomplishments of these individuals, recognize it, and honor them. So what they've done, it's good. It's very good. And it's going to be great for everyone that follows behind them.
Huge breakthrough. And in Lake Tahoe, we have Errol Kerr, which I thought was huge. And he was so well endorsed and celebrated. And I thought that was, to me, it gives me sort of pinpricks thinking about it. To me, that was such a breakthrough. And that was a while ago now, it was a couple of Olympics ago.
2009, he was competing. Right. And in 2010, he went to the Olympics, came in 9th overall in ski across.
Kicked ass.
We supported Errol all the way up to the Olympics.
Oh, you did?
Even though he skied for Jamaica. Right. But we supported him. He came up through the MBS program. Excellent young man. To make it to the Olympics is an achievement unto itself.
Oh my gosh.
To finish in 9th place,
top 10
ski across. Oh my God. Amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. And obviously just a ripping skier overall. It doesn't really matter what he's doing. Whenever I'm out with him, it's just a marvel to watch. Yeah. What do you think? What's the biggest challenge that the MBS faces?
The same as the industry, climate change. That's the biggest challenge. We went out to, I have three ski racers. We went out to Mount Hood last summer for training. We got off the plane in Portland. It was 114 degrees.
Oh my! You were in that heat wave. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was 114 degrees. That's a huge challenge for the industry, but for the MBS, our biggest challenge it's attrition. Our biggest challenge is age. We're aging out, just like the industry. Our average age probably is 45 to 55. And we need to work on our membership. We need to direct our marketing strategy towards the 25 to 45-year-olds. We need to bring in younger skiers and riders and snow sports enthusiasts to fill the void as we get older and we ski off. Yeah. So that's our biggest challenge, just marketing to the younger demographic and getting them involved in the sport. Everybody talks about the expense of skiing. We know that skiing is expensive. How do we direct our concerns to those manufacturers and those suppliers and get them to understand they need to do something to open up access for those that do not have that disposable income? So they really do. There are a few brands. I'm not going to call out brand names because I don't want to say some and not say the others, but they need to, as a unified industry, part of the industry, they need to address that. How can they help facilitate bringing in new skiers, never evers? That's the key. Bring them in, but we got to retain them. Yeah. The retention rate is abysmal in the ski industry. The retention rate within the National Brotherhood of Skiers is well over 60%.
Yeah, yours is like 5 times the national average, right?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Now, our focus is to really coddle our never evers, walk them through every aspect of tickets, lessons, equipment fitting, putting on your boots, learning, and that first time instruction is critical. And we definitely tell everyone, don't go out there and let your friend teach you how to ski. No, right? It ain't working. That's not going to happen.
I took my sister out and went back.
You're going to hate skiing. You're never going to come back, and you're not going to have a friend either.
Yeah, it's true.
So you really need to take a lesson. I totally 100% endorse taking a lesson.
Yes, I agree.
And you know what? I am not that person. When I started skiing, I didn't even have a friend teach me. I just taught myself.
You just went for it.
Which is crazy, but it evolved to where I'm at now. But the industry has to figure that out. They don't have to figure it out. They just have to set aside so much for never evers. How do they open up the door? They've made their money. They're still making their money. So they need to give back and figure out across all communities that are not represented, how do we bring them in and expose them to this great sport and the outdoors, and then retain them. The retention doesn't have to fall on their shoulders, but they sure need to address the high or expensive cost of the goods, of the equipment, of the hard goods, of the outerwear.
And it's interesting. To be honest, I haven't really thought about retention of first-time skiers and snowboarders. And it's got to be low. It's such an intimidating scene. You're right.
It's under 20%. It's under 20%.
Every little piece of it, you got to go up and get the ticket. And then, where do you go and which lift do I get on and who do I talk to? And everybody's, much more experienced than me. So, it does have a bit of a cold shoulder, I think, the opening segment. So, I think that is a great strategy. If you could really assist people, really, if you will, coddle them, like you say, and, make them feel comfortable through all these pieces, none of it will feel very intimidating. And especially if you have that person there guiding you through every step of the process. And that I think is really, really a great strategy. And I'm glad you guys are doing that. How many NBS clubs are there out there?
Well, right now, as of today, we have 54 clubs.
54.
And we have 54 clubs across the United States and the UK. We have 4 that are in newly formed clubs. They're in probation right now. So by 2024, we should have 58 clubs.
Wow, that's impressive.
And we're back in the day, we had over 80 clubs.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, we had about 83 or 84 clubs.
What happened to those clubs?
It's not easy running a ski club.
No.
Running
any group of people.
and it's a volunteer organization, so no one's getting paid to do this.
Right.
People, as I said, they age out. The leadership ages out, the leadership leaves. There's, the club folds, and it's terrible because I love skiing so much and I hate to see clubs fold.
Right.
But to be on the revival end of it now and watching clubs join and join and join, we've got, like I said, we have 4 clubs in the wings that have just signed on to become NBS clubs. We're going to get back up to that point.
Yeah.
And hopefully surpass that. And the industry is going to help because the industry they're starting to hear. Hopefully they respond positively and do what they can do to make it a little more inviting to come out and learn how to ski or ride.
And I'm not sure if that's happened yet. I'm curious your opinion.
No, it hasn't.
I didn't think so. Yeah. And
it hasn't.
What I'm seeing is a little bit more celebration. And Errol Curl comes to mind. Last year I had Eddie Taylor on the podcast who did the full circle Everest that I know you know about. And they made it. I got to give them back here. They made it.
And that's why I mentioned Phil Henderson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You did say Phil. Yeah, exactly.
Phil was the leader of that expedition.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe that's who I should talk to next.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of them. I thought that was great. And so I'm glad to see the celebration, but I think that the inclusivity isn't quite there yet. And I'm curious a little bit more on the affordability. And because I know a lot of communities have ski swaps, are you guys trying to do any ski swaps or anything?
We've been doing that
more
forever.
Affordable. Yeah.
We've been doing that for 50
right?
years. Within our clubs, they have ski swaps. Within our clubs, we have a lot of the clubs have a youth component.
Mm-hmm.
So we have families that pass on clothes, skis, equipment, you name it, to the younger kids coming up. So we've been doing that all along.
That's great.
What we've been able to do, we've enhanced our winter outreach programs quite a bit. With the help of a partnership with Cats Amsterdam and Vail Resorts. So with the grant that they've given us, we've been able, last year we did eight of our clubs. We were able to put more funding into those clubs so that they could do more outreach. And they brought almost 400 new skiers to the mountain.
Wow, that's terrific.
This year, we're looking at 8 clubs.
Nice.
With funding again from Cats Amsterdam, and hopefully we get 800 kids out on the mountain.
And where do you find the most return on the numbers, the most success? Is it more urban areas where they have a bigger potential outreach?
The urban areas that are close to mountains. Detroit has been successful. Ohio has been successful. That's a state I know, but a couple of cities within Ohio have been quite successful. Mm-hmm. New York City has been successful. Mm-hmm. Anywhere 3 hours or less to a mountain has been working for us.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And coming back to the ski companies that could help us make things more affordable, do you have any specific ideas on what they might be able to do?
Sure. I would love for them to partner with organizations like ours, mm-hmm. and offer never ever as a ski package. Yeah. You ski 5 times or 4 times in a season, we'll give you rentals, and you can have those rentals at the end, and we'll even give you a 5-day pass or a multi-pass to several mountains that you can use interchangeably. Because we're big now in the industry on shared passes, Yeah. So I don't see, and it's not going to hurt them. It's only going to help them because that's future revenue.
No, it's in whose best interest?
It's in their best interest, so they give them a pair of skis, they give them the boots, they give them the whole setup. You could get a setup for $200, $300. Uh-huh. So you're investing the growth of your company, $300 a skier. And I'm telling you, in one season, I'm not even going to tell you how much I spent in the season. I got 3 racers. And taking out tuition, just on ski trips, I'm in the $30,000-$40,000 area, So It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So they'll get their money back 100%, more than that, But they need to think about that, and they need to work with organizations like the Brotherhood to come up with a viable plan.
And it's in their best interest. That's what I love about it. It's full circle. If we don't get new people into this industry, and as we see, the census is talking about by 2045, right. This country is going to be mostly non-white people. Right. Yeah, exactly. Mostly people of color. By 2045, I think it's 61% white now, and it's going to be 49% by 2045, right. According to the Census Bureau. So we need to get these people skiing. We need to get as many people as possible skiing, and to focus on this demographic makes a ton of sense. It's in their best interest.
And I'm glad you said that. 2045 is a milestone date that's out there, but people have to understand. People are white people are getting afraid of this, and there's no need for that. There's no fear there. It's natural evolution. Mm-hmm. But if you bring a sport like this and make it available and open it and inclusive to everyone, there's no need to fear anything. All you're going to do is have more people skiing and have much more fun and see and watch through your own eyes the evolution of the sport. Go back to what happened this year in the Olympics. We only came home with 1 alpine medal.
The U.S.
Yeah, mm-hmm. U.S. ski team. We came home with 1 alpine medal. We got beat up. We got beat up really bad.
Yes.
And my hat's off to Michaela. She held it together. People don't understand the mental health issues that all athletes go through. You're at such a high level, and there's so much expectations of your success. So when you don't do it, it really hurts. It really beats you down. What we need to do is celebrate our athletes, not beat them up so much, but we need to expand the pool. We need to broaden our athletic base. If we're only utilizing rich white kids to choose our athletes from, we're on the bad end or the losing end of the spectrum. We've got to bring in more athletes of color, and give ourselves a better chance at winning those medals. I strongly believe that there's nothing. The athletes that we do have are superb athletes, are all excellent athletes, mm-hmm. But let's open up the pool. Let's expand that pool so we can get more of those great athletes. And then, we can go kick Norway's butt. We can go, go fight Austria. We can knock them right off this podium.
No, I'm so with you. And I know how, what terrific athletes people of color can be. And so, and especially you look at across other American sports. And, imagine having some of those folks in ours, in skiing and snowboarding. I've been excited about that for a long time. And I really want to see that happening faster.
Well, I hope it happens. And if you just look at the accomplishments of Erin Jackson, I mean, isn't that proof enough? I mean, this is a young lady that went from inline skating to speed skating and conquered it.
In what? In like 2 or 3 years, though, right?
Like, it was 4 years, but still.
4 years. Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal athlete and a great person. Mm-hmm. And there are so many more great athletes out there that we need to make the sport accessible to.
Absolutely. And it'd be good for everybody. So I'm really excited about that.
I want to be over there in Italy in 2026 before even the flag.
Hell yeah.
That's the deal.
So let's jump into, we'll come back to some of that. Let's jump into the MBS summits, because I know you guys are famous for these parties, for these summits. And I shouldn't get ahead of myself, because you tell us, what are the MBS summits? What are they and what are they all about?
Well, the MBS Summit is our major fundraiser. We put on this summit. That's our yearly annual event that showcases all of our clubs. All 54 clubs will be there this year.
Wow.
And the profit that we make from that goes to fund our Olympic Scholarship Fund. Our Olympic Scholarship Fund gives scholarships awards to our present athletes. Last year, we had 19 athletes. That was the most athletes we've ever had in the MBS on the team.
Wow, congrats.
This year, we've already received 19 applications, and we still have a few more days. I think there's about another 5 in the wings. So we're looking at a potential of going to 24 athletes this year.
Wow.
If we can get to that point, that means we're really getting close to achieving our mission.
And your mission, again, being to get somebody on the podium.
That's it. That's it. We want to represent the United States in international Olympic competitions, and we want to win.
Yes.
That's the deal. But the summit showcase, it's 7 days. It's Saturday to Saturday. This year, it's February 4th through the 11th, 2023, and it'll be hosted in Vail.
Nice.
And I will be the first to tell your audience that our host hotel will be the Hythe in Vail, and we'll be all over the village, parties everywhere, happy hours everywhere, entertainment, gospel fest, opening ceremonies.
Wow.
It's just a great gathering of fun, camaraderie, fellowship, ski racing, and just seeing friends. Like I said, there will be people there that were at the first summit.
Oh man.
And it's like having history in one spot on a mountain. That's just phenomenal. I can sit down and speak to some Naomi Bryson, let's say, who was a past president, a national president, and she can just run down the history of the organization to you. And it's just amazing. You just sit there in awe and appreciation for what they know, what they remember, and what they document. So that is, the summit is what we're all about. But understand, again, the National Brotherhood of Skiers, we are a volunteer organization. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, but we're 100% volunteer. No one gets paid here. So these amazing summits that are put on every year, they're put on by volunteers.
It's a lot of planning, a lot of logistics.
Oh, please. We're on the phone every day, 2-3 times a day.
I wouldn't be able to handle that. That's amazing.
It's a lot of work, but the result, the end product, the summit, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard it is to put it together, or sometimes you think something fell through or something's not going to work, it just always works out.
I love it.
It's always I have not missed a summit since I joined the MBS in '96. Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And this is the 50th anniversary.
That's correct.
And are you doing anything special this year that's about the 50th?
If I told you, I had to kill you.
Okay, that's what it is.
No, we have
There will be.
It's going to be, we're trying to make it our most spectacular event that we've held.
Excellent.
We've got a ton of entertainment lined up. We've got so many acknowledgments of all of our past presidents, all of our past volunteers, our alumni from all of the NBS ski teams, racing. It's just going to be the barbecue on the hill, Gospel Fest. It's just going to be an amazing party full of fun and good times,
I love it. And how do the resorts react to this huge party going on? People must just think it's so fun and interesting and want to join in.
We probably get more accolades from the locals at whatever mountain town that we go to. And I'll pick out Sun Valley because Sun Valley, the residents of Sun Valley, they come out in full force. I mean, we'll have a party for, say, 300 or 400 folks. They'll have 200 or 300 folks come from town. So, I mean, and it's so much fun.
That's great.
Everybody hanging out together. That should be, those videos of those parties should be broadcast all over and show what inclusion really is.
It's making me think we need to hire somebody to be a reporter, somebody maybe even within your organization.
We have a lot of coverage there, but we need to get it out because people need to understand how inviting we are at the summit. We're not exclusive at all. We're all about our membership, yes, but we're also about exposing and broadening the industry and broadening exposure to the outdoors.
And how many folks do you think might come this year? How many came last year?
We're looking at about 2,500.
Oh my gosh. So big time. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So that's a ton of people. We're
going to hit 2,500. I'm hoping that we go higher.
I hope so too. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Vail Mountain. Vail is celebrating its 60th anniversary this season. That's 60 years of powder days, back bowl skiing, ice bars, and new experiences. No matter how many times you've skied these slopes, this season is all about celebrating then, now, and forever. And as a part of the celebrations, Vail will be hosting the National Brotherhood of Skiers for their annual summit in February. So go ahead, plan your next visit to Vail and help them celebrate what's shaping up to be a legendary season. And tell me a little more about the NBS members. Who are they? Where do they live? Why are they involved? What do they get out of it?
The NBS membership is a broad spectrum. We've got members. My children were members of the NBS since they were 1.5 years old.
Okay, nice.
All right. They too have not really missed the summit. Maybe once or twice where school was a problem or an issue. And I couldn't get the principal to understand how important it was for them to go to the summit. But we have members from, let's say, 5 years old to 90 and 90 plus. They are from every economic level you can imagine. They're from every religious affiliation you can imagine. They're all across the board everywhere. If they like outdoors, they come to the summit. You've got skiing doctors hanging out with NFL players, and the guys are there. And you know what's so good? You've got, I remember seeing a few guys from the NFL that came, and they actually were on different teams. I didn't even know they were all coming. But nobody's like rushing in and say, "Oh, I need your autograph." They'll ski with them and have fun with them, drink with them at the happy hours, and then go about their business. It's not being starstruck here. It's just about enjoying the outdoors and enjoying the sport of skiing.
I love it.
Riding. I always got to put riding in there, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess we could say here we mean to include everybody when we say skiing, snowboarding, or snowshoeing, whatever you're into. And it sounds like. And this is a little bit of a different topic than the summit, but directly related. How many people have you folks introduced to skiing and snowboarding over the years of the NBS?
I couldn't even give you that number. I'm going to tell you it's got to be, I'm going to say it's over 100,000.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are, I mean, that's a huge number. You guys are actually helping this industry in a profound way in so many different ways too.
Yeah, I would say that for sure. At one point, we had our membership was anywhere from 12 to 20,000.
Wow.
And there, I would say for sure that we've introduced the National Brotherhood of Skiers has introduced 100,000 people to the sport.
Wow, that's amazing. And how, because I spent my adult life in the mountains, and you don't see a lot of people of color. And and I'd like to see that changing more rapidly, which it doesn't appear to be. But how quickly do you think the skiing and snowboarding demographics are changing?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see the change. You go back to 2020 when we had the George Floyd murder on TV, televised. That seemed to have awoken white America. And
Yes.
There was a moment there where the window was wide open for diversity, inclusion, equity. That was short-lived. And you know what? That is something that we as Black people have seen our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a tragedy, a Black man or a Black woman will be killed in the street, and it seems traumatic for a couple of months, and then it just dies out. And there's no follow through, there's no push, and there's no follow up. And then another 4 or 6 months, a year later, the same thing happens again, where you have this horrific murder in a street. I really thought in 2020 that maybe there was going to be a little more change. What I have seen, it's folks like you. It's folks that are just below that decision-making level, or that can really make a difference in the industry, that are buying all in. They said, yes, we have to do our part to make this sport more inclusive. We have to do our part to bring more people into the outdoors. I'm seeing that. I speak to a lot of people and in the industry, and executives and a few others that have it in their heart to do the right thing. And that's the first step. But the industry as a whole is not moving. It is such a slow evolution. I mean, it's not even molasses, it's slow. And that can change if we can get to the right people to make the change. The right people to make the change are the ones that are counting the profits in the boardroom at the end.
Mm-hmm.
When they realize that we're not trying to change this industry just to darken the complexion of the riders and the skiers. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to open the outdoors to everyone. But they're not seeing the reality that this is profitable for them. Once they realize that, I think we're going to start to see a little faster movement. And faster, it won't be molasses, it'll be honey.
Right.
I don't, but they have to understand, that rich white ski country club, that mentality's got to stop. You can still have your space. Yes, you can, but you got to open the doors. And what's going to happen when you do open the doors, you're going to realize it's not so bad. It's not bad at all. Actually, it's beneficial. And now they're going to see their stock prices go through the roof. They're going to, and I constantly preach to them that I am not an advocate of seeing the industry making money off of selling lift tickets. That's their data point for seeing that they're being inclusive. That's not my data point. My data point is seeing the industry change across the board through management hiring, through working in the outdoors. That has to happen. And if that happens, yes, ticket sales will go up. They will, but it's not just about selling tickets to Black people or people of color. That's not inclusion. Inclusion is opening the industry to everyone, and honestly, I believe you understand this. If I go to a mountain and I see a Black CEO, or I see a Black president of the mountain, or the hospitality person that's running the mountain is Black or a person of color, all of a sudden my whole thinking and my whole thought process of that mountain changes tremendously. Now I'm like, wow, they're getting it. They're doing the right thing. So that means I'm gonna patronize your establishment much more. And
even
that's what
if they had a black person on the trail map cover, right? I think I mean,
I don't
put words in your mouth, but
no, you're right. But we've been pushing the marketing aspect of it, marketing, menus, music. Make it an inviting experience for your guest.
Mm-hmm.
If I come to a mountain and I see artwork, like, we've been pushing a great partnership with Lamont Joseph White out of Utah, and he's getting his pictures and his artwork displayed all over.
Great.
People of color are appreciating that. People of color are coming to Salt Lake and to Park City and to Snowbird and Alta to see his artwork. I mean, they're going there to ski, but they say, wow, I know that they've got an exhibit of his artwork. Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
And they go check that out, and they're gonna see that. Then they're gonna ski some more. Then they're gonna buy some more. Then they start selling foods that are culturally inviting.
Okay.
And people they're gonna feel included, and they're gonna want to come back. It's not just retention of skiers buying lift tickets. It's also retention of skiers that have a good experience.
It sounds like it's a little bit of a hand reaching out to you a little bit. And I think I don't fully understand this either, but could you explain a little bit more about the menu, about the food, the music? Because I heard you talk about that before, and I never thought about that. So interesting. As a white person, you just are involved in your white culture and you see what you expect to see, which is essentially European culture replicated, and especially in the ski industry. We're really trying to aspire to be Austria.
Right.
And so
I'd love to hear real estate on. Right.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear your perspective on this, about the food, the music, all this.
Right. Well, you get tired of eating $25 hamburgers. I would love to, see a menu that's more along the lines of what I like to eat.
Uh-huh.
And I can't even tell you, what my favorite lunchtime meal would be, but it doesn't just have to be American cuisine.
Right.
Let's see something else, something that's more inviting. I know that a mountain that I work at in New York, they have a sushi bar, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's bringing out more Asian people to the mountain, but it's there, and that option is there.
It's a statement.
I see a lot of taco trucks because of COVID. They were putting up all these food trucks. Yeah. So that's helping a little bit because they have a lot of variety. They've got taco trucks, mac and cheese trucks. I never saw that. I was at a mac and my kids telling me, oh man, they got 18 different types of mac and cheese. Like,
sounds good.
I said, really? But, that's one aspect of it. Music, other than that rapid fire rap music, I mean, if I can have, play me some Marvin Gaye, some Barry White, I don't care.
Yeah,
but
R&B.
We get R&B music in there. People feel comfortable. Music relaxes you.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely breaks down barriers, and it makes people feel comfortable and invited. And then the marketing aspect, as I've told many, when I get a ski magazine, the first thing I do, I don't even read it. I flip through every single page.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say it's a 150-page magazine, 180-page magazine. I'm counting how many people of color I see in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
The largest number I think I've ever seen might be 6. And that was only one time. And that was probably a special edition, probably an MLK weekend edition or something like that. But most of the time, I'll see 1 or 2 people of color represented in those magazines, which is abysmal. That's crazy. Our summit generates millions of dollars in 1 week, multi-millions of dollars in 1 week. I think it's in everyone's best interest to show through your marketing, through your publications, through your trail maps, through the artwork on your walls, representation of people of color. And that would boost a level of wanting to be involved or wanting to come back to that resort. So and the reason why I didn't lead off with that when we were talking about inclusion is because it's always been out there. Since the 1980s, looking at some of the NSAA data, you realize that our skier days have been the same. $60 million, $60 million. Mm-hmm. 60 million visits, excuse me, mm-hmm. 60 million visits. That's been the same for 50 years.
Despite our population going way up.
Correct. So if you already know that and you're a for-profit entity, you know that you need to market to those, you got 87% of the ski industry is represented by white people. All right. 87% of those skier days are by white people. Mm-hmm. The other 12%, 13% that you're not capturing, they don't want to ski. It's been 50 years. You're not getting them. So just forget it. 87 is really 100%. That's what you have.
I mean, that's what you see, right? When you're out on the hill, I don't see people of color very, very infrequently.
So then you look at the Black population, you look at the Hispanic population, the Asian population, that makes up another 12, 13%, if that. I know in the Black population, they say, it's about 5.8%. It isn't. It's about 1.5%.
Wow.
So knowing those data points, having that information, you already knew for the last 40 years that you need to target those areas. You've known that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not teaching you anything that you don't already know. What you need to do is figure out, how do I market to them and get them to come to my resort? How do I market them and get them involved in the outdoors? What I perceive is that they don't want them. They don't want people like me there. Because if they did, over the past 50 years, things would have changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. Nothing has changed. So, we can talk this marketing, we can talk inclusion, equity, all that. If they're not going to pull the trigger and do anything about it, we're going to be talking about this again next year and the year after and the year after. So, you get blue in the face talking about it. You're hoping that eventually you'll trigger something that will make them say, okay, we need to direct our attentions there. The marketing is not hard. It isn't hard. They know how to do it with sneakers. They market to all underrepresented communities. You got kids that, and I'm using, this is bad, a bad analogy, but I got kids in inner cities that are wearing $200-$300 pair of sneakers. So Nike, Adidas, and all those guys, they know how to market to them, So how come the ski industry can't market to them and get them to their resort? We keep preaching this, and I am not in control of their marketing departments. I give them, just like I'm talking to you and your audience, I say the same to them, and they need to open their eyes and say, okay, not even open their eyes are wide open. Let's not get it misconstrued. Their eyes are wide open. They do not want to open up. If they did, if they really wanted to do this, they would do it. How do you end racism? How do you end racism? I'm asking you that, Miles. How do you end racism?
I've done my best to study racism in the last handful of years, and I don't have a great answer for that. But what I do see, what's opened my eyes a lot, is the systemic racism that we have. And so if I had to answer that question, if I was on the spot, it was like a gun to my head, how do you end racism? My maybe ignorant answer was, we need to figure out how to break down systemic racism, because it's built so deep, it's so foundational, that people often only see the sort of top end or the final results. But when you look back into history, how systemic it is, how, the redlining laws that we've had for real estate and where people of color can live. And it's just insane. I mean, it goes back to obviously the founding of this country. Right. And so for me, I feel like it's such a challenging task, but it somehow has to go back down to the foundations and see if we can break that down. I know that's not the answer
exactly right
before, but continue.
That's exactly right. But there's an even simpler answer. But what you said is critical. The foundation of this country was built on racism.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand racism as a 17-year-old. I didn't understand racism as a 20-year-old. I understood discrimination. I understood color hatred. I understood all those things, the N-word and all those things. I knew that wasn't right. But I didn't understand how deep the foundation of racism was in this country and how it was part of every law that was built in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So my question to you was, how do you end racism? The answer is really simple. You end racism. That's all there is to it. Yeah. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. There's no easy way. There's no about way. There's no, let's do a little of this. Let's do a little of that. You just end it. Mm-hmm. There's no other way. You can't do a little partial. You don't partially change. Okay, I'm going to have a white hand and a black hand. That doesn't work. Right? Mm-hmm. You have to end it. That's what, and I say that to the industry. Wake up, let's do this, end it. Open the doors and let's start doing the right thing. That's the only solution. You guys can have me on every program. You can talk to some of the best Black philosophers and educators that will tell you about CRT. They'll tell you about DEI. They'll tell you all the acronyms you want to know. But the bottom line is the only way to end racism is to end racism. That's it.
I like that. I hope that echoes with our listeners, because that is the only way. It does just have to. It's just terrible, and it has to stop. And it obviously, it pervades into our industry. And I am curious, especially thinking systemically. What do you think the ski industry has done to exclude people of color?
Well, everything that we discussed. Mm-hmm. Expensive equipment, expensive lift tickets. I mean, because, a Vail lift ticket is $198 or $200 and something dollars.
Yeah, holidays.
Okay. But if I'm a rich white guy, it doesn't mean a thing to me. What's $200? Mm-hmm. I'm driving up here in a $200,000 car. It doesn't really matter if I spend $200 on a lift ticket. But they're not anyway. They got a season pass or they got an Epic pass or whatever it is. But they put a price tag on entry to the sport that's so astronomical that's part of the exclusivity.
Yeah, I think it creates the ability for only a very limited demographic to have access.
Exactly.
And I think there's been other roadblocks too, but and one of them being
geographic.
Not seeing a Black person on the trail map, not seeing, as we talked about earlier, not seeing anybody like you represented on the mountain, worst of all, but then even in the marketing, all the pieces of the puzzle. And I've just scrolled through Snowbrains while we were talking, and I scrolled a couple times and I saw 2 people of color. I just scrolled a few times. And so it's something that, I'm going to take away from this. We need to get more people of color on our site. And we do have some control of that. So we need to make that move. And I would love to have, a person of color be reporting on the summit you guys have this year. So yeah. I think that's a great step in the right direction. And it's just tough. I think there's a lot of exclusion for people of color to come into the ski industry for all these reasons. And I'm curious, your experience and the person of color's experience, how different do you think the ski resort experience is for a Black person or a person of color?
Very different. Let's go back to the 60s when I first ventured out to a ski area. Fortunately, some of the white friends I had or schoolmates, so they say, oh, well, let's meet at Simpson Ski Hill. Mm-hmm. And I would go there. So I wasn't excluded. I wasn't included, but they didn't put up a wall. So they would sit down and watch me experiment on these huge skis and totally kill myself all day and not give me tips until I got to the point where I was able to come down the trail without totally blowing up.
Right.
You don't, as far as dining or eating at the mountain, you eat there, but, you're not looking to develop friendships and sit down and have great conversations because that wasn't open to you. But going back to some of the other obstacles, it was geographic. It was a financial mindset. We've been so brainwashed that people of color will say, well, Black people don't ski.
Yeah. Talk about that myth. Black people don't ski.
And that's ridiculous. Black people don't ski is because they heard Black people don't ski.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to the first thing I told you at the beginning of this. Skiing was invented in Africa. Okay, Black people do ski. Yes. Okay, so let's make sure we understand that. But the propaganda has been pushed out there so much, Black people don't ski. If you tell a lie so many times, eventually they think it's truth.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
And it isn't. So as far as inviting in the industry, now it's still the same. Honestly, it really is. Mm-hmm. You get to the mountain. Now I might see one or two people of color, maybe three or four. When I was a kid, I never saw anyone else at the mountain.
I bet.
But I have to say this. I was a kid growing up in New York. There was another Black kid or kid of color in Detroit that was doing the same exact thing I was doing. But we didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have communication. And that definitely wasn't something that was being broadcast on the news. Look at this Black kid skiing at the mountain all by himself, But what I was doing in New York, another kid was doing in Detroit, another kid was doing in Tahoe. There were so many isolated individual cases all over the country at the same time. But we never connected. We never knew. Now with the internet and social media, we connect, so I think that's going to have a great, that's going to be a great factor in increasing exposure and opening up the industry. I think social media is going to help a lot, but the biggest thing that has to happen is buy-in from the resorts.
And I am curious, taking it even another level down, is even digging a little deeper. What kind of racism have you personally experienced at ski resorts?
I never allow racism to get to me. It does. It gets to me every single day. Don't get it wrong. I live it every single day, but I am not going to let it win. So I don't know. Maybe I carry that because people usually don't say derogatory things, and maybe it's the way I look at them. And I don't look with hate at all, but some people will get in the lift line and they'll hear some statements. But most of the folks that, if you ski well enough, if you show some type of competence in your skiing ability, people usually don't say much to you. But then you always get those idiots that just think that they own the hill and they're going to talk about, oh, what are you doing here? Black people don't ski. And then when they see you ski, they shut up. But there is a lot of it out there, especially if you come across some folks that are very new to the sport. Others they'll say, well, what are you doing here? You're just, you're cluttering up the area, whatever. They might have derogatory things, but everybody's got to learn how to ski.
Right.
You don't get on skis and you're Jean-Claude Killy.
Everybody was there at one time.
That's right. And you got to make sure that people, those are the folks you're not going to change. You're never going to change them. I was talking to my kids the other day about it. And no, matter of fact, I was talking to some ski industry people and I said, the ones that we need to get to and make them understand what has to happen are not the 60-year-old white ball guys. I said, because those guys, they're pretty much set in their way. And, we just have to wait for attrition to take them out of the picture. It's the ones below them that we have an opportunity to express how important it is to evolve to a new understanding of what equality is, equality for everyone. We could lead the country through examples within the snow industry if we get our act together. And we say, look, we want to be on a level of equality. We want equity within our industry. If they pursue that, then we're on the right track. And then we can push that out into the rest of American society and say, guys, this is what needs to happen. But we got to take that step.
Absolutely. And we both know that white privilege is mixed into all this too. And I heard you say on another podcast that the ski industry is the epitome of white privilege. And the epitome of white privilege is the American way. And I'm just wondering if you could explain that a little bit more and tell us more about that.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, and that's the Friday night. You pack up the Suburban and everybody goes up to the mountain, up to their country club mountain. It's a 3-hour drive. They all get up there. And once they get through those gates, they don't see anything that doesn't look like them. Mm-hmm. They're in their happy place, and that's a privilege that isn't afforded to communities of color. They don't have that access. They don't have the finances to have membership into those clubs, into those resorts. Then, you're going to get to a mountain. Look at the mountain that I'm at. I ski at Windham Mountain.
And that's in New York?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's in the Catskills in New York. I ski at that mountain, and I've been at that mountain over 23 years. It's a great hill, but my family is the only Black family there. That's what white privilege is. That's their safe space. They don't have to, they can think the way that they always think and not affect anyone else. That's their space. So we've got to, I don't say we have to break it down. You can still have your space, but we need to open it up where it's more inviting and there are more families of color on the mountain. I can honestly say that there's no one at that mountain that could say, my family has bought something negative. If anything, my family has bought something positive. And there are hundreds and thousands and millions of families like mine that could come to those environments and help build those environments. But going back to white privilege, it's just a mindset. They believe that they're entitled. They believe that they're the only ones that should have this. And, it's not, it doesn't have to be that way. You can have yours and everyone else can have theirs. Mm-hmm. We're not taking anything away from you. We're just opening up the door so more people can enjoy the outdoors. It's all part of what you said, which is the foundation is corrupt. The foundation was built on racism, and that's where the word systemic comes from. Because everything in our society, in American society, has been built to exclude people of color, starting with Black, and then it progressed to people of color. So there's only one way to do that. It's to demolish that foundation and build it right. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the white privilege is about.
I really wanted to talk about white privilege because I've had my eyes open to my white privilege more and more. And I even had an older person that I know quite well say to me the other day, if my neighbor's a racist, how does that affect me? And that just opened I was like, wow, that is white privilege in a sentence. Because you're white, that's how it doesn't affect you. Of course it doesn't affect you. And so I feel like that's what we don't see is like all these things that keep people of color out of our ski industry, they don't affect us, so we don't even notice.
Right. And you see, but what you said is critical, and it's part of the revolution that's happening right now. I don't mean a violent revolution, but it's a educational or mental revolution that's going on right now, and we're watching it. And until we realize that we're all in this together, that we're all going to go down together, we need to wake up and fight together. We need to wake up and unify. We need to wake up and be equal. Everyone has to be on the same level, but we've got to understand that it's got to be fair for everyone,
I agree. And in that fold a little bit is coming back to the ski industry, but how can we be more inclusive just at ski resorts specifically? Because I think, the ski resorts can do a lot more, as we've talked about.
I'm gonna give you an example, and I just wanted to touch this because I don't like picking on a couple of groups, but I speak with all the groups. All right. So PSIA, I'm going to talk about, and yes. NST. PSIA, I'm a
and tell us what the PSIA is, please.
Professional Ski Instructors of America. All right. I am I've been in PSIA 15 years, I guess. They have 38,000 members across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 38,000 members, that's broken up into level 1 instructors, level 2 instructors, level 3 instructors, development team, examiner. Examiners are the ones that will give you your exams, and they'll conduct the exams for you to move up in your levels of competency. They have 2 examiners out of 38,000 members that are Black.
Wow.
2. So I speak to the CEO of PSIA. I said, you got 38,000 members. 2 of them, you have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. Why is that? That is such low-hanging fruit that you could gather up 20 of your level 3 Black ski instructors and prep them and train them so that they can become examiners. I said that would show your commitment. If you do that and we spread that out over the industry, over the country, they're going to see that we're serious about this. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, okay, well, PSIA is taking a step forward and they want to promote. And I'm not saying just hand out examiner pins. Heck no. And nobody in the industry as an instructor would want that. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to earn their pin.
Yeah.
So, but make the opportunity available so they can earn that examiner pin. But no one's pushing that. And that is such an easy, attainable fix. Mm-hmm. And if you see that, as I said, I go to a resort and I see a Black manager of the food industry, of hospitality. I see a Black manager running operations, mountain operations. That means something to me. That means something to Black people. That means something to people of color. So if we can do that on the instructor level, which again, it's so simple to do, that would show movement, that would show traction, that would show buy-in. But we haven't seen that.
And what do you think if we had more Black instructors, how do you think that would help with people of color skiing and riding?
How wouldn't it help? If you have a bus of kids come up from an inner city and they come to the mountain and they get up there, they get their boots on, they get their rentals, they get up to the bunny area or the learning center, and all they see are 10 white instructors lined up in front of them. They're not thinking about that, honestly, because they're more afraid of these skis that they got, and oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. But they go with whomever they get. But now you got 5 Black instructors there, you got 5 white instructors, you got 2, 3, 5 female instructors. You're like, oh, cool. I want to go with her. Mm-hmm. I want to go with that guy. He looks, he's cool. Let me go with him. I bet you they would come back.
Yeah.
The retention level now has increased substantially. Let's take this on to the National Ski Patrol. National Ski Patrol, again, they're way up there in the 30,000 membership rank. I think they have about 5 Black ski professionals, Black ski patrollers in the country.
Really?
In the United States.
Wow.
All 48 states. I don't even know what's in. Oh no, we got one guy that we're pushing and trying to assist to get in Juneau, Alaska. So,
oh, cool. Eagle Crest.
So we're working with him now and Ski Patrol. Ski Patrol, their director, Chris Castillion, he's really reached out and he's trying his best to implement something and work with us in the MBS to help improve his ranks, to help improve his membership. But again, you got 5 out of 30,000.
That's crazy.
Come on. So that goes back to white supremacy. That goes back to white exclusivity. Mm-hmm. If you really mean it, you're going to do something about it. So NSP, they get a lot of bad press, misogynistic, homophobic, racist, everything. Anything with an ick on it or a phobia, they've been labeled. They're labeled as the epitome of racism and feminism, all this stuff. But they know that. And the guy that's running it knows that. And he is trying to change that. But he realizes, he sees it. He's running up against walls, running into walls and realizing that it's not so easy. You can see it, but you have so many people that oppose you making a change. Again, those older white guys, those older bald-headed white guys that don't want to see change and it's their upbringing. It's the way that they were grown up. You remember when I was a little kid, the dream was a beautiful family, a white picket fence, and a house. And you had the American dream. And that's what's still in their mind. Why was it a white picket fence? But that's still in their mind, and they don't want to see that change. So now I got a guy that's running this organization that wants to see the change. But it's not so easy. He didn't realize that he had a 20-foot tall, 18-inch thick brick wall that he had to get over or through to make any kind of changes. So we're working with them. We're working with PSIA. We're going to work with anyone that is real and honest that they want to make change happen. I'm not just going to spin my wheels and regurgitate things that they already know. And that's what I told you. They've known that their skier days have not increased in 40, 50 years. And if you're only bringing in 1.5% of Black people to the industry, that's a no-brainer. Target that section of the population. You got 99% of the population in that sector that haven't skied. Go after them. That's where the money is.
And there's plenty of Black populations that are within 3 hours of ski resort.
And there's plenty of Black populations within 3 hours of ski resorts that have disposable income. So you don't have to give them anything. You don't have to say, oh, I know you're poor and you don't have this. No, that's not true. All right. So market to them and make it accessible to them. And you'll see the benefit. You'll see the financial benefit.
I agree. Yeah. And what we started with here was how can we make the ski industry and ski resorts more inclusive? And I think what you're hitting on is so good. If we can have instructors, people of color, if we can have patrollers, people of color, basically people in positions of power on the mountain that are people of color, that is going to set a really great example for other people of color. They'll look up, see them. I want to be with them. I want to be like them. I want to be them. It'll pull people into the industry. And then also, like you're saying, we also just need a market to these people at all.
Right.
I mean,
so you got the instructor of color that's teaching you. So you're feeling comfortable. Yeah. You're feeling like, okay, I can relate to this guy and he's teaching me how to ski. So now you learn how to ski and you're skiing, but you have a bad day and you fall and you get hurt. Who comes to get you? Old bald-headed white guy.
The good old boys club.
with the sled, and they put you in there. Now, what if a Black guy or a Black woman comes in a sled or brings a sled down to you and comes to help you? Your comfort level changes tremendously. You're like, okay, cool. I'm in good hands. She's going to take care of me. She looks like me. I think she'll give me the benefit of that and get me down this hill. Where the other guy you're looking at, it's like saying, almost like the police, you're like, oh my God, it's a white cop coming. Is he going to kill me or is he going to help me? So, you got to look at it that way too. Now I got somebody that's coming to help me out of a bad situation that looks like me. So I feel much more comfortable. So now I'm not going to go away and never come back. They got me down the mountain. They took care of me. And I'm not saying that Ski Patrol does this at all. Because I've been taken off the mountain many times, and I thank Ski Patrol. I thank Ski Patrol for their efforts and what they have done for me personally and my family. But it is just such a better and more welcoming experience if someone like me, someone that looks like me, helps me.
Relatability, simple relatability.
That's all it is.
Yep.
That's all it is.
No, I think you're right. So if we can get those people in positions of power, and like you said too, even going back, the C-suite, having CEOs, do you think, has there ever been a white a black CEO at a ski resort in America?
Yeah, there's one.
There is. Where at?
Yeah. Sean Mallier. He's the CEO of Winter for Kids in New Jersey.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah. And so, but obviously it's not enough. So,
No,
so yeah,
not by any means.
Yeah. So
not by any means. One.
Yeah, one, and 480 ski resorts or whatever you have in the U.S. So it's but if we can get people of color in power, that's going to draw more people of color into the industry. I love the idea. I never even thought of that, having the ski patroller when you're injured. That makes so much sense, because it's going to feel more comfortable. It's going to feel more relatable. And so these are steps, and they're pretty clear. After talking to you today, I feel like these are pretty clear. So I think we can sort of call on the ski industry right here and in other places and say, hey, here's your roadmap. It's pretty simple. Let's get people of color into these positions of power, and instructors, patrollers, C-suite people. Even like you said, head of food and beverage. All of that. Let's get these people in, and that'll draw more of those people of color in, and then that is where we're heading demographically anyway. So you need those dollars.
Those positions, they're not brain surgeon positions, okay? CEO, not brain surgery, man. It's not molecular biology.
That's right, or biochem.
Right? Yeah, right. But they're the talent. It always goes back to, we don't know where to find the talent, or there's not that talent level in the Black community. That's nonsense. That's 1,000% nonsense. We have Black professionals that can fill every position everywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And so
absolutely,
when they say things like that, we don't know where to go, you're not marketing to the right place. So NBS, we set up a job board, which we're accepting job opportunity announcements from all over the industry, and we're posting it. We're doing email blasts to our members just to help. And it's only that much that we're helping, but we're trying to do whatever we can do. We're trying to expose those entities that are looking to fill vacancies with the right search engines that will go to those communities, because there are so many people that are in inner cities, let's say. And imagine this, back in the 80s, and I got a job posting for a position at Vail, or a position at Aspen, or a position at Jackson Hole. And it came across my desk when I was very young and didn't want to be a construction manager. And if I saw that, I would have probably jumped on it, but I never saw those. Those postings get circulated within that white privileged group. It gets circulated within a certain demographic that is not inclusive of me, and that's how it's filled. But so many people, we've got some of these mega athletes, these triathletes these guys are amazing. We have the same thing on the brain power end, on the mental end. They are amazing, and they run top 100 Fortune 500 countries, whatever. They run them. They need to be given the opportunities, and they need to be exposed to the opportunities, because once they do it, it's just, there'll be no stopping. Once they do it, they'll see how beneficial it is for the life of their organization, the growth of their organization. I had one CEO tell me, we do want to hire Black people in the organization, but we don't have any already. We don't have any Black people in the organization. So we're not going to hire any yet, because it won't be a good fit, because they won't have anyone to talk to and bond with, so they'll quit. And will be looked at as being tokens. They'll be looked at as being tokens. Well, let me tell you something. Anytime you hire a Black person or a person of color into your company that has no Black or people of color employed, that person will be considered a token. All right? There's no other way about it. But that doesn't mean that they are really a token. That's what will be perceived. That person is breaking the ground. They thought Jackie Robinson was a token. Come on.
He was a legend.
So, you got to get past that. And I don't want to say stupid mentality, but it's a non-thought mentality. You're thinking, Oh, well, and that goes to my community as well, because they're going to say, well, I'm not going to take that job because I'm nobody's token. Well, somebody has to break the glass. Somebody has to break the ground, walk in the door, take the job, and do the job very well. And then the next one that comes, the next person of color that comes in, will do the same thing. And, they might quit. They might not like being the only Black person there, but someone might stay. And that person stays, and it just blossoms and grows and grows and grows. That's how it works. You don't say, well, I'm not going to hire anybody now until we get more people in. That doesn't make sense. Mm. You got to do both. You got to hire and you got to market to them, to those different communities. So you got to get past it. Stop coming up with reasons why it can't work and make it work. Again, how do you end racism? You end racism. That's the answer.
And if we were going to confront a company in the ski industry that said, I don't know where to look, I don't know where these people of color
they can
are,
shoot us a copy of that job opportunity.
That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. I want to hear you guys say, hey, we are a consultant for that.
We'll post it, and we're working to figure out and identify other job boards and job search engines that will direct it to the right communities, the communities of color, and get those jobs filled.
So when people think it's a non-starter, that's not true. They have the NBS. So go to the NBS, and you guys have your finger on the pulse of this. So
we're trying our best.
So I think that's a great message to get out there too. So yeah, if you have an opening or if you are trying to learn more about this is your resource. We have basically an amazing consulting company, if you will, that can help you with this. So I like that. Go to the NBS. This is a little bit off subject here, but I forgot to ask before. Your mission is to get somebody on the podium, and who should we be looking out for right now? NBS athletes, because it's fun to kind of Google these people and right. See who's. Not to put you on the spot, but you probably got a couple names.
Yeah, we have a couple of kids right now. We have a young snowboarder out of New Jersey, LJ Enriquez. He is phenomenal. He actually got he's sponsored by Red Bull now, but he's one of our athletes.
Really? Red Bull? That's huge. And what is his sport?
You know what? I know he's a snowboarder. Okay. He does rails. I know he does rails.
I've seen his videos. He's really good.
He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. And he's really a good kid. Yeah. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and his parents are behind him 100%. So great. LJ, I like. Ava Keenan, 12 years old, out of Vail, mogul skier.
Nice.
She just nailed her backflip. Now she's working on the truck driver backflip.
Wow.
Good 12. Girl. Good skier. 12. She's on our team. She'll be too young for 2026, I think. But
that's your big focus. Yeah, it's 2026.
Yeah.
Olympics.
Well, we got World Juniors and everything else coming up too, but not in mogul skiing or not in snowboarding. We had a kid that's on our team. He was on our team last year. He hasn't put his app. I don't know what's going on with him this year, but Brian Rice is one of our snowboarders. He's out of Michigan.
Nice.
He's doing quite well.
Great.
So then we have a couple of alpine skiers. Bronson Culver, he's up in Vermont. He's doing well. Stratton, he's at Stratton. I don't have my finger on the pulse like I used to, and now that I'm president, I got a whole lot more to look at. We've got Keegan Supple. He's a free skier.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. He's in New Hampshire. Pius Rogers out of Boise. He's pretty hot. He's skiing really well. Nice. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and they're all probably 16 to 18-year-old range, but they're developing well. They're all developing well.
That's great. Well, I think it's fun for our listeners to Google those folks and give them the support that we can. And I definitely am going to do the same. And so, we're running out of time here, but I if I'm not mistaken, you and your family were in the latest Warren Miller movie. Is that true?
Yeah, I didn't want to plug us, but I don't want to plug us, but yeah.
That's so cool. That's my dream is to be in a Warren Miller movie.
I grew up watching Warren Miller. I remember hitchhiking to the local theater every winter. In November, we'd get out there, October, November. It was actually like around Halloween when it would come to our town. And we would just watch in awe at guys jumping off of cliffs and skiing. And when my kids and Jana Davis, and my kids are Helena, Henry IV, and Hanaya, when they got pulled, I was speaking with Warren Miller, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to do a thing." I was like, "Wow,
that's so fun."
I could never imagine that my kids would be in a Warren Miller film. So, and it's even better when you're in a theater and you're seeing it up on the screen. You're like, "Wow,
oh man,
it's awesome. It's a great feeling." My kids going to an academy, and the coach, when I spoke to the coach the other day, he was like, "Well, I looked at your son's name on the list of new athletes coming in." And he says, "I know that name." I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, he was in the Warren Miller film." I was
like, "That's so fun."
Cool.
And where did you guys film with Warren?
That was done in Snowmass.
Oh,
yeah, Aspen Snowmass.
Nice.
Yeah, he said some wicked skiing. We had some great time there.
Oh, how fun! And your kids must have loved it, right?
Oh, they you can't tell them anything now.
Nice. Nice.
I'm glad I beat them all. I'm glad I beat them all before that, so I don't have to race them anymore.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I wanted to talk about climate change a little bit more, but we're kind of running out of time because my understanding is I think climate change has been proven to disproportionately affect people of color. Yes. And so that's been frustrating. And, I'm just, and we got to, essentially, I think you can agree with me. We need to do something about climate change, and it needs to be done on a governmental level.
Right.
But I really want to end it on this. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the NBS?
Well, my focus right now is on 2023 Vail, our 50th anniversary summit. Mm-hmm. That is the focus of the whole organization because we want this to be the hands down the best summit ever.
And it will be 50th.
It's going to be great. We have a lot of different activities scheduled, entertainment scheduled, acknowledgement scheduled for all of the members, presidents, past national presidents, founders. All of them have to be recognized for what a tremendous achievement that we've been a part of. NBS, we've got our founders inducted into the Hall of Fame. We just received and we're being honored or receiving an award from Colorado Mountain Snow Sports Museum, August 21st at Vail.
And is that top of the hill or something like that?
Top of the Hill Award, correct. Yep. For our contributions and achievements within the snow sports industry. My goal when I came on board in 2020, well, let me tell you that. When I came on board in 2020, COVID hit. I got elected March 4th. COVID hit March 11th.
Oh, man.
And rough time. I couldn't even say devastated. I was destroyed. I was like, I can't believe this. Oh. I've always wanted to be the president of the NBS, and now I'm the president and the world is ending. I was like, what's going on? I was like, this is crazy. So I think the world has turned COVID around, hopefully, but it also gave us an opportunity to get the recognition and respect that our organization has earned. We've been around 50 years. Doesn't mean that we've only been skiing 50 years. We've been skiing forever. Mm-hmm. But the organization started 50 years ago, and we are getting the respect and recognition that we deserve as an organization for the contributions we've made. That was my goal. My goal was to but just get the recognition, because we've done a lot for the industry. We've probably exposed more than 100,000 people to the sport. So we need to be recognized for the entity that we are. I think we are getting that. I am so happy. With our founders being inducted, that was great. I was elected to the U.S. Ski Team Board of Trustees.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Yeah, I was elected to U.S. Ski Team Governance Board.
Oh, I didn't know this. Wow. Congratulations.
So those are accomplishments that the organization has done. And I can't tell you more. It was just, we're getting what we deserve. And we put in the time. And again, this is a volunteer organization. No one gets paid. And without the membership, without the presidents, the past presidents, the board members, none of this would happen. So my hat off to a great organization. And I'm just so happy that I am I'm at the helm of it right now. And hopefully I will keep leading it in the right direction.
Absolutely. And my hat off to you and everything that you folks have accomplished. It's really impressive. And I'm really excited to see where you guys go in the future from here. Henri, that's all I got for you. I hugely appreciate your time. Do you have anything else you'd like to share here at the end of the show?
Well, I just want to say I need, we're not an exclusive organization. So please, if you want to come to the summit, it's February 4th to the 11th, 2023 at Vail. You can go on our website, www.nbs.org, and register. If you don't have a club affiliation, you can join a club. It's very simple to join a club. That's the only exclusionary. And you know what? You can even come to the summit without joining a club, but we would like you to join the club.
Yeah,
all the dollars from the membership joining the club, which isn't much, goes to our Olympic Scholarship Fund and the support of the club. So, we want this to be a huge celebration, not just for the membership and the population of the NBS, but for the ski industry. We want everybody involved because it is such a great time. It is such a great party. We want everybody there.
Absolutely. Henri, it was an honor chatting with you today. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of the day.
You too, Miles. Thank you for having me. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Snowbrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with your friends and family, and please subscribe. To find out more about Snowbrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Snowbrains.
This episode of the Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Vail Mountain. Vail is celebrating its 60th anniversary this season. That's 60 years of powder days, back bowl skiing, ice bars, and new experiences. No matter how many times you've skied these slopes, this season is all about celebrating then, now, and forever. And as a part of the celebrations, Vail will be hosting the National Brotherhood of Skiers for their annual summit in February. So go ahead, plan your next visit to Vail and help them celebrate what's shaping up to be a legendary season.
This episode of the Snowbrains podcast was edited by Jared White, music by Chad Crouch, and I'm your host, producer, and creator, Miles Clark.